Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Wisdom Podcast, where we all think that we're just smarter than smart as anything. Okay, so this is going to be an interesting one. It'll be short. It's a concept called Ikigai. It's Japanese, and it's taken very seriously at Okinawa. And studies say that's one of the reasons why they live so long is because of Ikigai. So before I get into the exact thing of it, let's go a couple of questions that are going to relate to it. One, if you're going to work or if you work, how's that? Do you look forward to going into work or do you despise it? Do you go to work and get all stressed out and say, geez, I have to have this job. I need the money, whatever. I understand that. But in the same token, if you're stressed out, what is the point? So there's so many people, and it may or may not be you. I'm not suggesting it is, but there are so many people out there that just don't like their job. They feel trapped. And so they go in and they waste time and they get angry and they get more stressed out all the time. And I wonder, what is the point of that? Now, I've been through different jobs, and the jobs I did have, I loved them. And when there were times when I stopped loving them, I just went on to something else. And I've been like that my whole life. I think I've only worked about 8 months for somebody else. The rest of the time, I just been doing kind of my own thing. But I thought I was very good at it. So when you think of that question, why do people go to work? Where I live, it's outside of Toronto's Niagara Falls area, actually, and people are driving to Toronto every single day. It's an hour and a half to 2 hours if they hit rush hour. Then you got to drive downtown and find a parking spot, which is expensive, then go into the job and have a job that they don't really like. And then they turn around and have to do the same thing coming home. That's like 3 to 4 hours just traveling back and forth to the work, stuck in traffic, bumper to bumper. Been there because I worked in one end of the city and lived in the other. It was nuts. Finally, I left there. I left the city. I went up north. But where's the happiness? What happened to you when you get, or what happens when you get home? Well, you may have a beer, you may have a glass of wine, you may have whatever. You sit down in front of the TV and just watch TV. Or you're going to go to a club, depending on the younger ones might go out to a club and stay out to 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, get up, go to bed, get up and do the same thing over and over again. And this ikigai is not the ikigai, actually. It's not just about, not about work, but it makes a point. So if you feel trapped, and by the way, people who feel trapped and stressed out, 95% of their illness, 95% chance of illness, because that's where it all comes from. So what's the bottom line? Well, if you love your job, if you love what you do, there's no adage that, if you love what you're doing, you'll never work again. As for me, I found that that's the way I've always been. And I'm 72 and still working. I don't plan on retiring. I'm going to take some vacation, but I just love what I do. And some of you may know me. I teach Qigong and Tai Chi. I certify people to become instructors, and they're in Canada, the United States, and so on. And I just love them. And I love people. When I have the class, now I'm mostly online because ever since COVID, but when in the class, I love what I'm doing. It's kind of odd because I teach with my eyes closed for the most of the time because I want to go deep inside, and I do. And I always get the comments at the end of the class, "Oh, that was so relaxing. I love this class," whatever. And that's my dharma, if you call that, my sacred labor, and it has been for 30 years. And I every time I go out and talk to people, it's the same thing. And I've had students that do the same thing. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a little story, true story, about a retired insurance broker, owned his own company, built it from the top. And he's a tough old guy, Irish guy, but he's very nice to me. I liked him very much. So he started doing this. And he started doing the exercises, came into class at the time. This is go back a few years. And he did all the exercise and he was showing, oh, look at my stretch. I can touch the floor. I can do this and that and the other thing. My shoulder doesn't hurt anymore. And this went on and on. So whenever he was out somewhere, he'd always tell somebody, you got to do this, Chicon. Try this. I want you to try this. He was kind of bossy that way, but in a nice way. And I'm sitting having lunch with him in a restaurant one day. The waitress came over and he stood up. He's trying to teach Chicon, you've got to do this. You got to do this. So enthusiastic. I've got emails from him when he's on a cruise over in Greece. Just 6 o'clock in the morning. I was doing my Qigong and just thought of you know what, thank you. Anyway, He passed away. So I went to his funeral. There was open coffin, then they had a reception line. So, we're going down. I'm, thinking about him, looking at him in the coffin and thinking of the good times. Here's the thing. They had a greeting line. So I walk in, they said, "Hi, I'm George Picard." "Well, you're that Qigong guy. Frank talked about you all the time. I said you do this and that." I said, "Oh, well, thank you." I go to the next person. "Hi, I'm George Picard." "You're the guy. Well, Frank just never stopped talking about you. He said you actually had a big part of his health." I went to the next line. I went 7, all the same. You had all heard about, never met him. They all heard about me, about the Chicago because of Frank. Anyway, and another thing about this, this is going to get the Ikigai. My teacher, uh, Grandmaster Helen Wu, her father, also a Grandmaster, was a doctor in China. Now, during the Cultural Revolution, they used to pick on and beat the doctors and teachers and anybody who wore glasses and had any resemblance to the West. So they tried to break him. This is how they do it. First, they put him out in the field, 12 hours a day in the hot sun, digging and planting and looking after the weeds and so on. And he would always whistle and sing and do these kind of things. And this went on. They tried, he didn't matter what they did, he was happy. So they put him in Beijing. And in Beijing, I've been there and it doesn't smell very nice. So they have these toilets. Basically, they're a hole in the ground. That's it. And you get a lot of people in there and it's not so good. So they put him in there to clean these toilets. And he whistled, he cleaned them, and he couldn't figure it out. Finally, they needed doctors, so they said, "Okay, go and be your doctor and help people." Here's the thing. It doesn't matter what he was doing. He was happy. Now I'm going to get to something from Ikigai. I'm going to read it to you because I've got a note on this. Ikigai is a Japanese concept that roughly means a reason for being, or that which makes life worth living. The word comes from 2 parts: Iki, which is life or to live, and Gai, value, worth, or benefit. Together, the idea expresses the value or joy of being alive because life has meaning and purpose. The deeper meaning, in the Japanese culture, Ikigai does not necessarily mean a grand life mission. Often it refers to small, daily reasons to wake up in the morning. Caring for family, practicing a craft, serving the community, tending a garden, teaching others, continuing to grow and contribute, and more. Many people in Okinawa, one of the world's longest living populations, often speak of having an ikigai. Researchers studying longevity there noticed that people who maintain the sense of purpose, contribution, and connection tend to remain active and healthy well into old age. In the West, the modern interpretation is uh, ikigai. Ikigai means what you love. It can mean what you are good at, what the world needs, and what you can be rewarded for. And usually it's a combination of 2 or more of these things that make up the Ikigai. So, what you love, I love Qigong. What the world needs, there's this is why I do what I do. Or, what are you good at? And what can be rewarded for that? What the world needs, what you are good at. So all these combinations are ikigai, but generally it's not always a grand mission. It's just something that you're happy at doing. It's a love. So if you love your job, like say, if you go in and nobody can tick you off because you know what, this is not that big a deal. And you love talking to people on the phone or typing or just being around people, whatever. That's how you're going to survive. Otherwise, you're going to be sick. And many people are. So what I did was I went through oh, let me show you this. I went through this book. This will transform your life. This is the wisdom book. I put together some of my favorite wisdoms, and some of them are quite deep. So if we take this concept of ikigai, and I'll read these and just see how they'll fit. Here's the first one. You can't do anything about the past, but here's the real sorrow. You can mess up the present by fretting too much about tomorrow. In other words, people get stuck in the middle and get nothing done because they're always thinking the past. If you look back, and there's other quotes in there similar to this. If you look back in anger or forward in fear, look around in awareness. And if you're living in the past, you're living with anger and it's taking all of your thoughts. You're here right now, but your mind, in other words, your body's back there. Wherever your mind goes, your body goes also. And that's why now you can sit down and image an exercise and the body will react exactly the same because the mind doesn't know the difference. And that's why you see these big screens and skiers going down, following the skis in their training. So if you always thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow, oh my goodness, what's going to happen in Iraq? What's going to happen in Iran? What's going to happen to the economy? What's the government going to do? Is the oil prices going to go up? Is inflation going to go up? How am I going to afford this? It's that, and it just goes on as item, just on and on and on. For what? You're going to change this? No. But what happens is it creates so much time it takes away from you, and it takes so much of your attention. It takes so much of your energy. And then you're depressed and sick, and you've got anxiety and stress. And tell me what's good about that. There isn't any. So it's always about being in the moment. So here's another one. Happiness is a quality of the mind. Or it is something we possess within. If we do not have it within, nothing outside can give it to us. That's from Paramananda, and an old wise guy. Anyway, so if we don't, happiness has got to be inside here. That doesn't mean you're happy all the time. That means that if you can't identify when you are happy, you don't know what it is. So if you start looking at all the things that go on in your daily life and what's good, and tell me what's bad. I mean, it's neither. You know, the old story, is it good? Oh, neither. So happy. And so the other thing, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. So if you can start tuning into what are the things that make you happy? Do you like going for a walk? Do you like going for a walk in nature? Do you love to sit by a river, a creek, or a lake? Find one. Go do it. Sit with nature. Connect with that energy. Everything out there is amazing. And look for the happiness. And I mean, you look around, there's so much to be happy for or pleased about. Here's another one from Ram Dass. Don't think about the future. Just be here now. Don't think about the past. Just be here now. In other words, tomorrow's not here. It might not even exist. We might not even wake up. So why are we worrying about tomorrow when it's not here? I mean, if you want to plan a vacation, so on, that's fine. Just don't worry about those things and stop living in the past. If somebody hurt you or ticked you off, or that driver that cut you off last week, forget that. All these memories we carry around. And sometimes we'll start to find out that, maybe the load's getting a little heavy. So forget about it. There's nothing you can do about it last. Nothing. So let it go. But somehow we want to hang on to it. We want to hang on to that anger and that hate and all these negative emotions of the mind. And how's that help you? More stress, more illness, more unhappiness. And sometimes it gets to a point, the only way we can be happy is we have a couple of glasses of wine or beer at night, because that just kind of takes the edge off, so to say. And it's always about, and there's many quotes in here that talk about the present moment, because that's all that exists. There is no tomorrow. You're not there. How can you possibly be in tomorrow? This moment, at this time, you and I are conversing, or well, I'm doing all the talking, but we're here in this moment, focusing on something good, I hope you think. Here's the final one. To study and at times practice what one has learned, is that not pleasure? Is that not a pleasure? It's by Confucius. So if there's some of you, I'm sure, may remember a band called the J. Giles Band. Here's the thing about J. Giles. Now, that band was rocking back in the day. They were going great. Everything was perfect. One day, he just had enough of the squabbling and within the band, and he said, I'm done. And walked away, just like that. He had a mechanics license, so he opened up an auto shop, specializing in Mercedes, Maseratis, and Ferraris. He would fix them up. He would sell them. He's still doing it. All that fame and all that stuff that went on there when he's big in the band, he didn't care. He went to do what it made his heart happy, what made him happy. Greasy hands and wrenches and under the hood, all kinds of things like that, and some very nice cars. The heir to Baskin Robbins, when one of the founders died, his son was the heir. Turned it down, said, I don't want it. Give it to somebody else. I want no part of it. And that's how the story goes. And he walked away from it because the money wasn't worth it. It's like it corrupts people. So they say. I'd like an opportunity to see if that's true or not, but it's not, that's that's not quite the case. So when you put these things together and say, well, what makes me happy? What makes you happy? Maybe it's gardening. Garden. Maybe it's arranging. Arrange the flowers. Maybe it's making the perfect meal. Like you love cooking. Then put your passion in it. If you like cooking, you know what it feels like when you go and you cook. You say, I'm going to cook a fine meal. And then you compare that if you work in an office building somewhere or some other job where it's very stressful, how does that feel? Compare the two. So live like what you want. Now, there's ways to do it. You say, well, I can't afford it. I got the money. I haven't got this and I haven't got that. And, listen, if you need some excuses, I could probably lend you a few. I'll give them to you because it's not that tough. It doesn't, and it depends where you are. I mean, if you're in your 40s, that's going to be different than if you're in retirement age. You got an income coming in you know, from retirement. Then you can do, and maybe you could, if you like cooking so much, you can go volunteer. What if you did that as an example? You go down to the food bank, or you go down to the kitchen where they come in from off the street, and you take something simple and you turn it into a gourmet meal. And you see the faces on everybody, and they come up and thank you and say, "That was wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you." I mean, it's like, oh, shucks. People thank me all the time. I just People thank me all the time for the class. Oh, I feel so good, and my shoulder doesn't hurt anymore, and my back. I haven't had back pain, and I've been sleeping at night, and boy, I go to the bathroom every day like clockwork, and on and on and on it goes. I know it sounds really crazy, but we've had so many testimonials, and a number of them border on miraculous. It's not. It's just science. As a matter of fact, at the end of this month, I'm going to April and May for 2 days at Harvard. This is the second time myself and Dr. Joe Baumgarten. He's a doctor of physical therapy, and he's a member of the village. He's an instructor in the village. So we go down and check out all the new science from around the world. So they have these scientists come in, they got all kinds of rooms, and each one gets a room for an hour and a half. And you got to pick which topic you want to go listen to. You can't listen to them all. So sometimes you go to the same one together, and other times we'll split it up and then we can compare notes. Then they have these other ones called posters, and somebody did the research and they put it all make it into a poster, it goes on a board, and they stand there. You can go talk to them about the results and how did you do this and how did you do that. It's really fascinating. That's the second one they've done. And Peter Wayne, he was with Osher. He's a PhD with Harvard. He works at the medical school, the Osher division, which is more natural medicines. And he wrote a book, fabulous book actually. And the Harvard Medical School's Guide to Tai Chi. In there, he quotes research on hearts and balance and all kinds of things. There's many books that are coming up with these results. We have one. Matter of fact, there's going to be coming on April 25th is World Tai Chi Qigong Day, wherever, I'm getting off the topic here, but I'll make this quick. And it's for your health. And I'm going to be doing 12 hours live from 8 in the morning to 8 at night. And we're getting information from all the time zones. We're going to have guests, and Dr. Peter Wayne is going to be on and for 10 minutes and give us the update and why now is the time for Tai Chi and Qigong. Anyway, so getting back to the initial talk, it's that the Ikigai is a purpose. Now, here's one thing, a simple way to think of it. Ikigai is the quiet answer to the question, why do I get up in the morning? And I think oftentimes we forget about that. We just get up and we do the same thing we did today that we did yesterday, and we're going to do the same thing tomorrow. And do you ever think about the purpose that you have? Why am I getting up here anyway? What if I had to live? I'm going to turn on the TV and just watch that all day, or I'm going to go and visit a friend and sit there and yak all day. I'm going to get up. I think I'm going to take up cooking. Maybe you want to go to a college. We have a college here, a culinary college, where you can go in and take cooking classes. Not as a degree, but just cooking classes on different types of foods and learn some techniques. Actually, I'm going to do that because I like it. I'm going to have some more time. Anyway, so you can do things like that. You can go to ikebana, by the way, is another Japanese term. It means it's the Japanese way of flower arrangement. Very simple, but very gorgeous things. It might be fun to do that. Where can you volunteer that you'd feel comfortable and that you could help? And make that your purpose for getting up in the morning. And again, if you're working full time right now, that may not be possible. So make no mistake, I'm not suggesting that you go out and do these things right away. But find something that gives you purpose when you get up in the morning, and your life will change. And you'll live longer, and you won't have the stress, and you won't have any heart issues, and you'll be smiling most of the time and going around telling people how much you love them and so on. It's the thing I do. But anyway, just really enjoy it. I mean, I had a call from Niagara Falls. It's a community center, and he wanted to know if I could come down and do a class. I said, yeah, okay. And he says, well, what do you charge? I said, well, it's $100 an hour. Ooh, that's not in our budget. We can only pay $50. All right, I'll be there. Because in these, I also work at another home called Henley House where everybody's in a wheelchair, and I go down and do it a couple times a month, and they light up. They beam. Matter of fact, my sister's one of my instructors in Kingston. She has 8 um, home for the aged, let's call it that, and instructors out there teaching them, and they're loving it. They're happy. They're feeling better. They're talking, and this stuff's amazing. Anyway, that's my Ikigai. It's teaching Qigong to people, seniors, online, instructors, and whatever. And I love what I do. That's why I'm still working. If I hated it, do you think I'd be doing it this long? Man, I'd be finding something else, but something that would give me passion. Anybody have any questions or discussion, a thought? All righty then. Okay, so if you want, you can probably look up Ikigai. It's Ikaigai, and it's actually I have in Japanese. I have it written out, so I may post that somewhere. Okay, so I think I made my point. I hope I made my point. I hope you enjoyed the point. Hope you enjoyed this discussion. Not all discussions have to go on for an hour and a half, and I've done a couple for an hour, and I've had a couple, 2 guests on since I've been doing this. But there's so much wisdom in the wisdom book. I got it particularly, and I don't know about you because I don't know how old you are. I know some of you are getting on into my age group, but life's changed. It's just it's not the fight anymore. When I was in my 30s, man, I was going out there. I wanted to make all kinds of money. My father told me there's 3 things about money. Said you got to learn. One, it's nice to have it, and not instead of not having it. It's better to have more than less, and it's better to have it than not have it. I think those were the 3. But anyway, I'm kind of happy. And here's the thing: I'm 72, and I seem to be quite healthy. And I go out and I do this, and I go to bed at 9, 10 o'clock at night after I finish working. And there's always things to do that bring me pleasure. Anyway, with that, I'm going to leave that with you. Otherwise, I could just go on and on and on. Anyway, thanks for coming. I'm going to say good night now and sign off. And I hope we see you at the next time that we're on. And hey, have I told you how much you love you today? And always remember, peace, love, gratitude, and joy. Forgive, forget, and let go. I hope to see you in a couple of weeks, and we get something spectacular. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.